I thought love was supposed to be forever. 15 years, 2 kids, countless memories, wasted. She told me, under anesthesia of all things. I've been cheating on you since day one. The kids aren't even yours. The words hit like a bullet. My world shattered. How do you survive that? How do you face the lies, the betrayal every single day? But I wasn't just going to survive. I was going to make her feel it. Every last moment. Dr. Aaron Foster tightened his grip on the steering wheel of his car, feeling the leather beneath his hands. The sound of the engine and soft music on the radio did little to ease his anxious mind. In the passenger seat, his wife Melissa leaned against the window, still drowsy from her treatment at the dentist. "How are you feeling?" Aaron asked with a forced smile as he glanced over at her. Melissa's answer was a mix of words that didn't make sense, her eyes not focused. Aaron smiled softly, reminded of many patients he had seen after similar procedures. But this was different. This was Melissa, his wife for 15 years and the mother of his kids. When the traffic light turned red, Aaron stopped the car. He reached over to adjust Melissa's seatbelt, making sure she was safe. As his hand brushed her shoulder, Melissa suddenly opened her eyes. "You are so clueless," she slurred, her voice loud in the quiet car. Aaron blinked, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I've been unfaithful since we got married," Melissa continued, her words becoming clearer. "The kids aren't even yours. They're from my past relationships. I don't love you at all." Everything felt as if it was spinning around him. Aaron struggled to breathe, shocked by her words. He opened his mouth to reply, but no words came out. Melissa went on. "You're so naive," she laughed, and the sound grated on him. It was way too easy. The light changed to green, but Aaron didn't move. Cars began to honk behind him. With unsteady hands, he pulled over to the side of the road, his heart racing. "Melissa," he whispered, "what are you talking about?" But Melissa had slumped back against the window, her eyes closing again. The medicine had taken her back into a deep sleep, leaving Aaron alone with the weight of her words. For a long moment, he sat in shock. Then, shaking, he pulled out his phone. He opened the voice recorder and hit record just as Melissa stirred again. "I never loved you," she said softly but clearly. "Not ever." Something inside Aaron shattered. 15 years of marriage, 2 children, countless memories, all made bitter by her words. He wanted to yell, to shake her awake and demand answers, but instead, he took deep breaths. He steadied himself and drove on, his mind racing. If what she said was true, and he hoped it wasn't, he needed proof, something real, not just the confused words of a woman coming out of anesthesia. As they drove home in silence, Aaron began to plan. He would look for answers, find the truth, and then decide what to do next. Their house stood before them, a lovely 2-story home that had once felt like a dream. Now, it felt empty, like the end of something he couldn't comprehend. Aaron carefully helped Melissa inside, tucking her into bed. His heart ached. How could she not love him? Had everything been a lie? As Melissa drifted off, Aaron went to his office. He sank into his chair, feeling overwhelmed. With shaking hands, he replayed the recording on his phone. Her words echoed in the room. He closed his eyes, letting the pain wash over him. Slowly, he opened them again. There was work to be done, a truth to find, and Aaron was determined to uncover it. He picked up his phone and called someone for help. "Hello, I need a private investigator. It's about my wife." The following weeks were a blur for Aaron. On the outside, life seemed normal. He went to work, smiled at patients, and returned home to his family. But inside, he was tense, an emotional storm brewing. Melissa appeared to have no memory of her earlier words. She went about her days as if nothing was wrong, sharing kisses and stories about the kids. Each smile felt like a knife in his chest, but he kept up the act. If Melissa noticed the change in him, she said nothing. Meanwhile, the private investigator Aaron had hired, a determined woman named Sarah, was busy gathering information. The updates came in secure emails, each one another blow to Aaron's already fragile state. Subject M, seen entering a local gym at 2:15 p.m., remained for 90 minutes, left with a man identified as Chris Parker. Financial records show payments for personal training sessions, indicating more than just a gym membership. Photos attached show Subject M and the man in close proximity outside a local hotel. Aaron read through each update, feeling his heart break further, but he still needed more proof. One afternoon, while Melissa was at her gym, Aaron stood in their bedroom looking at her tablet. He knew her password, her birthday. His fingers hovered over the screen. This was it, the point of no return. If he did this, there was no turning back. He entered the code and the tablet lit up. It didn't take long to find hidden folders, secret messages, and images that churned his stomach. Messages with expressions of love for Chris and plans that were disguised as training sessions. Deep in her email archives, Aaron found something that made him feel cold inside. Messages from a fertility clinic dating back to before their first child was born. They talked about sperm donors and treatments he knew nothing about. Slowly it all came together in a way that made him feel sick. The children he loved might not be his at all. Aaron sank onto the bed, holding the tablet tightly in his shaking hands. He had sensed something was wrong since that day in the car, but seeing proof was a different matter. He allowed himself one moment of pain. A quiet sob swallowed into a pillow that still carried Melissa's scent. Then he took a deep breath, wiped his eyes, and got back to what he needed to do. There were tests to arrange and lawyers to consult. He had to figure out a new path forward. As he left the bedroom, Aaron spotted a family photo on the wall. Melissa, the kids, and him all smiling at the camera. Happy, perfect. He carefully took it down and placed it face down in a drawer. It was time to face the truth, no matter how hard it felt. Just as Aaron's world was falling apart, the earth decided to shake. An earthquake hit on a Tuesday afternoon while he was at his dental office, focusing on a patient's tooth. At first it was just a light tremor, but soon everything around them began to sway like a boat on rough waters. "Everyone out!" Aaron yelled, helping his patient from the chair. They rushed towards the exit as equipment fell and glass shattered around them. Outside it was chaos. Car alarms blared, people shouted, and in the distance a building fell with a loud crash. Aaron's thoughts immediately turned to Melissa and the kids. He quickly grabbed his phone, trying to dial with trembling fingers. "Aaron?" Melissa's voice came through, shaky and terrified. "Oh, thank goodness! Are you okay?" "I'm fine," he replied, surprised by his own calmness. "How are you and the kids?" "We're okay. We're at home, the house. There's some damage, but we're safe." Aaron felt relief mixed with the harsh reality of what he had learned about Melissa. "Stay where you are. I'll be home soon." The drive home was terrible, with roads cracked and power lines down. Aaron's practice had suffered greatly, years of effort now reduced to debris. But as he navigated through the chaos, a plan started to shape in his mind. This disaster could be a chance to find out what he needed without too many questions. When he finally arrived home, Melissa embraced him tightly. Aaron held her, taking in her familiar scent, feeling a mix of comfort and anger. The kids clung to him, their faces dusty and tear-stained. He knelt down to gather them close. Regardless of everything, these were still his children, and he loved them. The following days were a blur of insurance claims, checking for damage, and cleaning up. Aaron threw himself into the work, using it to tire himself out so he could sleep better at night. But even as he aided his neighbors and comforted his family, Aaron was secretly plotting. The earthquake had shaken more than just buildings. It had disrupted Melissa's carefully built world, and he intended to use that. One evening, while Melissa was on the phone with their insurance company, Aaron quietly entered her home office. The damage from the quake had left things disorganized, and Melissa had become careless. In an open drawer that was usually locked, Aaron found a stash of troubling evidence, bank statements for an account he had never known about, and chats with Chris about their future plans. Just then, he overheard Melissa's voice from the next room. "Chris, we need to be careful," she said, her voice urgent. "Once the insurance money comes through, we can start fresh somewhere new, just us." Aaron's hands curled into tight fists, his nails pressing into his palms. The pain kept him grounded. He couldn't confront her right then. He needed to be smart. He had to think ahead. As he replaced the documents and slipped out, Aaron's mind raced. He had everything he needed to expose Melissa's lies. But he wanted more than just that. He wanted her and Chris to feel the same loss he had experienced. As he walked down the hall past family photos that now felt like reminders of a lie, Aaron made a decision. This wasn't just about a divorce or revenge. It was about standing his ground. Dr. Aaron Foster sat in his home office, the glow of his computer screen lighting up his face. His fingers hovered over the keyboard as he created a new social media profile. Alexander Roth, a businessman looking to invest in local opportunities. It was all made up, a plan to get close to Chris Parker, the man who had hurt him the most. Aaron clenched his jaw as he uploaded a photo of a successful-looking businessman. It was similar enough to his own look to be believable if they ever met, but different enough that people wouldn't recognize him right away. Taking a deep breath, he started to create the profile: Harvard Business School, successful years in tech investments, and a recent interest in health and fitness. Every detail was carefully checked, every statement just convincing enough to pass a quick review. As he focused, Aaron's thoughts drifted to Melissa. Was she with Chris now? Were they laughing about how they'd tricked him? That thought filled him with anger. He reminded himself to stay calm and concentrate on his plan. Finally satisfied with what he had made, Aaron went to Chris Parker's business page for Flex Fitness. He hovered over the message button for a moment before clicking it, a small smile forming on his lips. "Mr. Parker," he typed, easily slipping into the role of Alexander Roth, "I've recently moved to the area and I'm impressed by your gym. I'm looking for investment opportunities in the fitness field. Would you like to discuss the chance to grow?" He hit send, leaning back in his chair, his heart racing. The bait was set. All he had to do now was wait for Chris to respond. The reply came quickly, within an hour. Aaron could almost feel Chris's excitement through the screen. "Mr. Roth," the message said, "I'm excited to hear from you. I've been looking for investors to help expand Flex Fitness. When can we meet to discuss this great opportunity?" Aaron felt a rush of satisfaction. Chris was hooked. Now it was time to pull him in, slowly and carefully. In the following weeks, Alexander Roth and Chris exchanged many messages. Aaron played his role well, showing more interest in Flex Fitness while dropping hints about a big investment. From his hidden position, Aaron saw Chris's excitement grow. Chris began talking about plans to expand, new equipment, and celebrity endorsements. Through all this, Melissa became more involved. He noticed her name in emails and heard her voice in background calls with Chris. She seemed eager to have a new life, and it made Aaron feel uneasy. But he pushed that feeling aside, using it as motivation for his plan. While Alexander led Chris on, Aaron was plotting another move. One night, using a secure and private email, he sent a message to the IRS. To whom it may concern, he wrote quickly, "I believe that Chris Parker, the owner of Flex Fitness, has been involved in tax evasion for several years. I've attached some documents that suggest unusual financial activities. The attached documents were a mix of truths and carefully chosen falsehoods, enough real details to get their attention, combined with made-up information to mislead them." After hitting send, Aaron felt a bit guilty. This was more than just a revenge plan. It could ruin someone's life. But then he remembered Melissa's hurtful words, and that guilt faded away. Chris had taken everything from him. Now it was time to get even. Meanwhile, Melissa hummed happily as she cooked dinner. Everything seemed to be going well. Chris's gym was on the verge of a big expansion, thanks to an unknown investor. Soon, she and Chris would have the money to start fresh. She felt a flicker of guilt as she heard Aaron come in. Clueless Aaron had been so supportive, even suggesting they invest in a business together. Yet, she pushed that feeling aside. "Honey, I'm home," Aaron called out. Melissa smiled as he entered the kitchen. "Welcome back. How was your day?" He kissed her cheek, and she resisted pulling away. "Busy, but good. What about you? Any fun plans?" Melissa's heart raced. Did he suspect something? No, that was impossible. "Oh, just the usual," she said smoothly. "Maybe we'll see some friends later." Aaron nodded, his expression hard to read. "Sounds nice. Oh, I set Chris up for a dental check next week. Thought we'd offer him a friends and family discount since you spend so much time at his gym." Melissa nearly dropped her spoon. "Oh, that's nice of you." "It's nothing. I'm going to take a shower before dinner," he said, turning away. Once Aaron was out of sight, Melissa grabbed her phone and sent a quick text to Chris. Aaron scheduled you for a dental appointment. Be careful." Upstairs, as Aaron enjoyed a moment of satisfaction, he watched Melissa's message appear on Chris's phone. The monitoring software he had set up was working perfectly. Everything was going according to plan. The following week, Chris felt nervous as he sat in Aaron's dental chair, unaware that he was stepping into a trap. "Open wide," Aaron said cheerfully, putting on a fresh pair of gloves. As he worked, Aaron kept chatting about ordinary things, making Chris feel at ease. It was easy for him to collect a DNA sample without Chris realizing it. That night, after Melissa went to bed, Aaron carefully sent the sample off for testing. It was another piece added to his growing collection. But DNA wasn't Aaron's only focus. In the weeks that followed, he set up hidden cameras and microphones around the house. It made him uneasy to watch the footage of Melissa and Chris sharing private moments, but he forced himself to record every lie and betrayal. All the while, he played the role of the supportive husband flawlessly. "I really think this business idea could be good for us," he told Melissa one evening, sounding sincere. "We should use the house as collateral to show the bank we're serious." Melissa's eyes lit up, and Aaron struggled to hide his disgust. She was so eager to risk their life together, not realizing she had already lost everything. As Melissa excitedly agreed, dreaming about the money she thought was coming, Aaron was finalizing his plan. He anonymously sent packets of information to Chris's wife and business associates. Photos, text messages, financial records, proof of the affair, and Chris's wrongdoing. Then, in a clever move, Aaron manipulated their joint financial records to make it look like Melissa had been taking money for months. Late into the night, Aaron worked on creating documents to make Melissa seem guilty of embezzlement. A sense of satisfaction washed over him. The trap was ready, and all he had to do was spring it. The storm hit on a Tuesday. Chris was in a training session when IRS agents entered his gym. He watched in shock as they began to gather documents and computers. "What's happening?" he demanded, but the agents only handed him a warrant and kept working. Meanwhile, Melissa was enjoying lunch with friends when her phone buzzed. It was a text from Chris. "IRS at the gym. Everything frozen. Call you later." Fear gripped her. This couldn't be happening, not now, when everything was so close to their dream. But more bad news followed. By the time Melissa made it home, her world was collapsing. Chris's wife had publicly revealed the affair, posting evidence all over social media. His business partners were distancing themselves too, expressing their shock and disappointment. Then came the final blow. "Melissa," Aaron's voice was calm as he approached her in the kitchen. "We need to talk." She turned and saw him holding a stack of papers, divorce papers. "Aaron, I can explain," but Aaron raised a hand, stopping her. "Save it, Melissa. I know everything, the affair and the money situation. How long did you think you could keep this hidden?" Melissa felt a wave of panic. How could he know? As if he sensed her confusion, Aaron continued. "Did you think I wouldn't notice the missing money, the late hours, and the lies? I've known for months. I was just waiting for the right moment." Melissa's mind raced. The business plan, Aaron's sudden interest in their finances, it had all been a setup. She had walked into his trap. "The kids," she whispered, trying to salvage something. "They're innocent. You wouldn't—" "Wouldn't what?" Aaron's voice was cold. "Leave them like you planned to?" "Don't worry, Melissa. I care about those kids, even if they're not mine by blood. But make no mistake, you won't be seeing them again." Melissa sat down, feeling everything around her fall apart. In a matter of hours, she had lost everything, her lover, her children, and her future. Looking up at Aaron, she saw the steady resolve in his eyes. She realized she had underestimated him. This wasn't the simple man she thought she married. He had dismantled her life methodically. As Aaron calmly explained the conditions of their divorce, Melissa felt a chill down her spine. She thought she was clever, fooling Aaron all these years. In the end, she was the biggest fool of all. The conference room at Jameson and Hartley law offices felt more like a battlefield than a place of business. Aaron sat at one end of the long table looking relaxed, while Melissa and Chris fidgeted across from him, exchanging worried glances. Aaron's lawyer, Michael Hartley, stood by the window, ignoring the tension in the room. This was Aaron's moment. "Thank you both for coming," Aaron began, his tone even. I thought it would be best to discuss the divorce terms in person. Melissa narrowed her eyes. Terms? Aaron, you can't be serious. Oh, I have many serious thoughts, Melissa, Aaron interrupted, a hint of firmness in his voice. Can we be honest with each other now? Slowly, Aaron opened his briefcase and took out a thick folder. He laid out photos and papers on the table like someone revealing a hand in a high-stakes game. What is all this? Chris asked, leaning in. His face turned pale as he spotted himself in some photos, pictures showing moments with Melissa, secret meetings, and exchanges of money. This, Aaron said, sounding insincere, is what we call leverage in business. While you two were planning your escape, I was busy gathering information about your actions. Melissa gasped, her eyes wide. You knew? This whole time? Aaron's laughter was cold. Oh, Melissa, I knew everything. Your affair, your plans to leave, everything about the kids. Did you think I was clueless? Chris banged his fist on the table. This is wrong. You can't do this. I can and I have, Aaron cut in. But this is just the beginning. Want to see what else I have? He pressed a button on a remote and a screen lit up. Video footage played, showing Melissa and Chris in situations they shouldn't have been in, talking about their plans, laughing at how they thought they were deceiving Aaron. You invaded our privacy? Melissa said, horrified. Our home? Aaron's voice sharpened. You mean the place you were planning to sell? The home you both shared while keeping secrets? Yes, I did that. Chris stood up quickly, his chair scraping the floor. This is crazy. Let's go, Melissa. Aaron grinned. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Chris. Authorities are very interested in some of the things I've uncovered, financial misconduct and more. It would be a shame if that information got to the right people, wouldn't it? Chris's face lost color as he slowly sat back down. Melissa looked between the two men, feeling her world collapsing. What do you want, Aaron? She asked quietly. Aaron leaned back, showing a calm confidence. What do I want? I want you to realize the full impact of your actions, how they've harmed me, our family, and everyone who trusted you. He turned to his lawyer. Michael, could you step out for a moment? We need to talk. As the lawyer left, closing the door, Aaron's expression changed. The calm demeanor vanished, revealing his hurt and anger. Did you ever love me, Melissa? Was any of it real? Melissa flinched. I thought I did at first, but then things changed, Aaron finished coldly. Instead of being honest, you led me on for years, letting me raise children that aren't mine while you planned your exit. Chris, sensing an opportunity, tried to speak. Look, we never meant— Enough, Aaron snapped. You don't get to say anything. You were just part of the problem, Chris. A distraction for someone who lost their way. He turned back to Melissa. I want you to understand. This isn't just about the affair. It's about all the lies, the hurt, the way you were ready to upend our family for your own wants. Tears filled Melissa's eyes. Aaron, please, we can fix this. For the kids. The kids? Aaron replied bitterly. The ones you were ready to leave behind? No, Melissa, you can't use them as an excuse now. He stood up, towering over the table. Here's the plan. You will sign these divorce papers. You will accept my terms, which, trust me, are fair considering everything. Then you will both leave, out of my life. Chris, losing his confidence, stammered, And if we refuse? Aaron's smile was chilling. Then I share everything, the details, the financial issues, every lie. I will make sure you both face the consequences. It's your choice. The room was silent, Aaron's words hanging heavily in the air. Finally, Melissa reached for the pen, her hand shaking as she signed. She looked at Aaron one last time. I truly am sorry for everything. Aaron's expression remained unchanged as he took the signed papers. No, Melissa, you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. He gathered his things and headed for the door. Just before leaving, he turned back. And Chris, you should find a good attorney. There could be serious trouble coming your way. With that, Aaron stepped out, leaving Melissa and Chris to deal with the mess they created. Whispers followed Melissa through the grocery store, a mix of judgment and scorn. She kept her head down, trying to ignore the stares and the not-so-subtle pointing. Did you hear? One voice rose above the rest. She cheated on Dr. Foster for years, with that gym trainer of all people. Those kids aren't even his, one person said. Can you believe it? Another added. Melissa's hands trembled as she reached for a box of cereal, the same one she'd used to buy for years when she was still Mrs. Foster, still respected, still part of her community. Now, it felt like a reminder of a different life. After the divorce, she tried to stay strong, but Aaron's influence was heavy in their small town. Gradually, doors started to close. Invitations faded away, and even her closest friends began to pull back, afraid of being linked to her. Chris wasn't doing any better. The last Melissa heard, he was selling all his gyms to pay off his growing legal costs. An investigation had uncovered many problems, and now he was struggling just to avoid serious trouble. Their dreams of starting fresh had fallen apart, and Chris had turned bitter. He often took out his anger on Melissa, acting as if she was to blame for his troubles. Instead of a passionate relationship, they were stuck in a cycle of dependency, both of them holding on to the shattered pieces of their past. After shopping, Melissa walked to her car, which was a far cry from the fancy SUV she used to drive. While she put her groceries in the trunk, she heard a familiar voice. "Mom!" She turned to see her kids. No, Aaron's kids, she reminded herself, running toward her. Aaron stood a bit away, watching closely. "Hey, sweetheart." Melissa forced a smile and knelt to give them a hug. "Did you have fun with your dad?" The older child, Emily, nodded eagerly. "Yeah, we're going to the zoo today. Dad says we can see the new tiger cubs." Melissa's heart sank. She had promised them that zoo trip long ago before everything changed. "That sounds amazing, honey. You'll have to tell me all about it when I see you next." As the kids chatted excitedly, Melissa glanced at Aaron. He remained calm, but she could see mixed feelings in his eyes, hurt and anger, but also a fierce protectiveness toward the children. Despite everything that had happened, he kept his promise and stayed connected to them. It was a kindness she knew she didn't deserve. "All right, kids," Aaron called out. "Say goodbye to your mother. We need to get going if we want to avoid the crowds at the zoo." The children hugged Melissa one last time before running back to Aaron. As they walked away, she heard Emily ask, "Dad, why doesn't Mom come with us anymore?" Aaron's answer was too quiet for her to hear, but she saw him kneel, speaking gently to the kids, as a protector should. Melissa got into her car, tears flowing down her cheeks. This was her new life, watching from a distance as they moved on without her. Later that evening, after tucking the kids in bed, Aaron sat at his computer, ready to send an email. He stared at the screen, drafting a message to two men he had never met, but who had a connection to the children he had raised. "You have a right to know," the email began, followed by details about the children, their names, ages, and the circumstances of their beginnings. Aaron took a deep breath and clicked send. It was done. He felt he had fulfilled his responsibility to these innocent lives caught in adult conflicts. As he closed his laptop, he reflected on the time he had spent with the children. Their moments together were meant to count, filled with bedtime stories, park visits, and laughter, memories he would cherish. It was bittersweet, but Aaron knew it was the right thing, a fresh start for them all. The children would get to know their biological fathers, and he could truly begin anew, free from reminders of Melissa. The morning sun filled the empty rooms of the Foster family home. Aaron stood in the doorway of what had been the master bedroom, holding a cardboard box, the last of his things, ready to go into the moving truck waiting outside. He had sold the house weeks ago, another step in breaking away from this town and the life he had known. New owners would move in tomorrow, and he hoped they would find happiness there. As he walked down the stairs, his footsteps echoed in the empty spaces. He paused at the kitchen counter where an envelope lay, a piece of unfinished business. With a deep breath, he set the box down and picked it up. Melissa was written on the front in his neat handwriting. He had thought carefully about leaving a note, weighing whether she deserved even this small kindness. Ultimately, he decided it was necessary, not for her, but for his own peace. A final goodbye before turning the page on this chapter of his life. Inside the envelope was a single sheet of paper. Its words captured all his feelings, pain, and his farewell. "Melissa, the kids' real fathers know about them. Good luck with that. I'm leaving this town for good. Goodbye." Aaron put the envelope back on the counter, making sure it was visible. Then he picked up his box and walked out the front door for the last time. The moving truck was ready to go. Aaron's new life was waiting for him in a city far away, where he would start a new dental practice, bought with the sale of his old one and a fair divorce settlement. A new beginning, free from the burden of betrayal and lies. As Aaron climbed into the driver's seat, he took one last look at the house, full of memories, both happy and sad. The life he imagined, the future he hoped for, was now all gone, erased by Melissa's deception and his own plans for payback. For a moment he felt unsure. Had he gone too far? The pain he had caused in Melissa and Chris's lives was complete. They had lost so much, their good names, their jobs, their hopes. Even the kids whom Aaron had grown to care for would bear the impact of it all. But then Aaron thought of the harsh words Melissa had used that day in the car. The years of lies and betrayal, her choice to end their family for her own selfish wishes. No, Aaron decided. He hadn't lost control. He had simply shown Melissa and Chris a part of the hurt they were ready to bring to him, a taste of what they had planned. With a firm nod, Aaron started the engine. As he drove away, he noticed someone familiar at the end of the street. Melissa standing there, her face showing regret and pain. Aaron didn't slow down. He passed by without looking back, focusing on the road ahead, on his new path. The town faded away behind him, growing smaller in his mirror until it was gone completely. With each mile, Aaron felt lighter. The anger, the hurt, the need for revenge, all of it disappeared, replaced by a sense of calm purpose. He was Dr. Aaron Foster, and he was starting fresh. His past was behind him, a lesson learned, but his future was still open, full of possibilities. As the sun rose higher in the sky, Aaron let a small smile break through. For the first time in years, he felt truly free. The road stretched ahead of him, long and winding, leading to a new life and new adventures. Deep inside, he felt a flicker of hope, a hope for something new and better. The moving truck sped along, taking Aaron toward his fresh start. And as the familiar sights of his old life disappeared into the distance, so did the last traces of the man he once was. Dr. Aaron Foster was gone. In his place was a man changed by betrayal but ultimately freed by the very events that had almost broken him. The future was waiting, and this time Aaron was ready to embrace it on his own terms. Hey listeners, if you enjoyed watching this video and want to stay updated with our latest content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss out on what's coming next. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video with Queen Cheating Tales.